Welcome YouTube to Pawn Man. My name's Evan Kale, and I own a gold and silver business. If you guys have never seen this program before, it's a reality show about my industry, about my job. It's an entertaining program. It's an educational program. I have no idea what's gonna walk through my door today. It could be anything from a lost treasure of history to an old coin to an old gun, who knows? I'll tell you this much, I'm probably gonna try and buy it if the price is right. So strap in and prepare yourself, because this is Pawn Man. All right, I got a remote buy coming in. This stuff just got mailed to me. So let's go through it and see what we can pay Brandon. Take a little bit of acid, kindly given to me by goldandsilvertesting.com. Thank you, goldandsilvertesting.com. That was so nice of you to send me all this jewelry testing acid, as well as the loop and scale and granite block and all the other cool stuff you sent me. That's goldandsilvertesting.com. Don't think these are silver. So this is not turning red like it should be. And I don't think that these chains are silver, but all this other stuff is. This looks like it's gold. 10 karat, made in Italy. This is getting melted down for sure. Even though it says made in Italy, these are like a dime a dozen kind of thing, so. Melting it. All right, let's see what it weighs. 12.8 grams. 12.8 times 0.415. So 5.31 grams of gold. I'm gonna give him 210 on this. Melts at about 280. On the silver, 149 grams, 306 is what I'm gonna pay him. Plus his shipping, 311. He says those chains were silver. Apparently he bought them from a jeweler, but I've heard that before where somebody gets ripped off by a jeweler. So I offered him 315. We'll see what he says. There's wiggle room here if he wants to. If he wants me to come up, I will a little bit, but not much. The alternative is if you don't like my price, I'll mail it back to you, no problem. I haven't had that happen yet. Frankly, I would probably come up to avoid doing that because it's just annoying to do that, but I can't overpay on stuff too. All right, cool, we got a deal, 315. See, the thing is a lot of the silver that I bought from this guy, like I'm gonna flip this on eBay because I think it's 50 or 60 bucks for this. You know, I run into the problem of I'm not gonna get it tomorrow. I might not get it for 2-3 months, but I'm gonna get more than melting it down. You know what? I might be ballsy. I might ask $100 for this thing because I'm a pirate. So this piece right here is sterling.
Okay.
You can tell there's a little hallmark down here.
Okay.
If you ever want to identify it, that's it says 925 or sterling.
Okay.
But this piece here is plated, yeah, silver on copper.
Okay, no, it is here.
Yeah, if it's sentimental, keep it, because nobody wants this stuff. I melt it down.
Yeah, it's not sensitive, so.
And these pieces are filled, so there's concrete in here.
Oh,
so
okay.
in fact, each one is half an ounce.
Okay.
Because when you rip it open, it's like a tin can.
Sure.
And
okay.
this set here, these are plated. I'm gonna not melt these. I'm gonna resell them because they're interesting.
Yeah.
I could do like $5 on it.
Okay.
Turn on my poundage scale. All right, so it looks like we got 5.1, let's call it 5 pounds. So 5.26 ounces here, $100 even.
Okay.
So we'll call it 120, 5, 130 is what I can do.
Okay.
Thank you so much. What's perfect about that is my scrapper is coming, in about an hour, and I don't have that much stuff for him, so at least I got a little bit more stuff for him now. And how much am I going to make on this, you ask? Let's find out. So I didn't want to do this in front of her, mainly because the advantage is mine when I just guesstimate. I bet there's more than half an ounce, probably not much more. Well, we'll find out. That's the point of what we're gonna do. But this part here is filled, and let's find out exactly how much these weigh, because I didn't want to rip this open in front of her. She might have said no to my price, and it's like, well, I just damaged your stuff. So let's take a look. Look at that. So I weighed one of them, it weighed 94.8 grams, and one of them with the crap in it weighed more than both of them combined. That being said, I paid her as if it was 31.1 grams. It's obviously double. So, you know, I paid her a little bit under. I would have come up if she would have asked. But again, when I'm doing something like this, I have to guess, and I need to guess for my advantage, because if I'm wrong, This is my business. You know, I lose money when I guess wrong. That could put me under. I don't want that to happen. So, you know, I gotta do what I gotta do here. And this stuff is getting scrapped right now. So how much did I make? Let's find out. So there's 66.4 grams right there. There is another 163.7. So it looks like there's about 230 grams divided by 31.1. So there's 7.39 troy ounces times 0.925, 6.84 factoring sterling, and multiply that times 26.55. So 181 is the melt value on this stuff. Again, I paid 130 just on the sterling. And I bought these little dealy things, which I don't know what they are. I'm gonna have Juliet look at them. I think what we'll do is we'll shine them up, and then we'll stick them on eBay. Then I asked, I don't know, 20 bucks for this set. And the plated shit I probably made 4 or 5 bucks on, so yeah, not bad. 50, 60, call it $70 profit. You guys know what I get to do now? I haven't done this since I moved in here. What did we do with Grandma Silverware? It was on the Titanic. But the time has passed, its day has passed. This is just worthless shit. What do we do with worthless shit? What do we do with Grandma Shitty T-shit? We throw it in the melt. We throw it in the melt. And that's the way it goes. I'm really glad I'm next to a very elderly business where they're definitely hard of hearing and can't hear all my crazy antics, because I do this shit all the time. This is perfect. So I got my smelter rolling through, selling me some silver, and I'm gonna give him some scrap. I don't have very much for him, but like I got this 14 karat chain, this mystery stuff. I don't think any of it is precious metal, but he'll be able to test it and find out. Some sterling charms that I get from that one guy. He's just been coming in a lot. I got this, actually I think I got both of these from followers. Probably making about $400 or $500 off of what you see here going out. All right, so we got some Morgan silver dollars coming in here. Yeah. This one's got, looks like somebody carved AL into it. So I actually don't think this one is good. It weighs too much, it feels weird, the shine is bizarre even if it was cleaned. I think one of them, yeah, I think this one's fake.
You're kidding.
I'm gonna stick it on my Sigma. I'll do a reading on it right now. But it weighs too much. If it weighed too little, that'd be one thing, but weighing too much, there's no way that a coin would weigh more than the actual weight.
Oh my God.
These weigh 26.73 grams, and this one's 27.11 grams, and there's no way that a coin would acquire extra weight. But just for shits, let's Sigma it. Well, whatever it is silver. Perhaps somebody coated it with something, and that's why it's so shiny like this. I don't know what it could be. So you got 3 dates that I like. Unfortunately, these are worn down. I'll do 30 bucks on these ones, these 3, and the rest of them I'll do what I said, 23 on. So you got 33 at 23 and 3 at 30. 849, call it 850. It's 850.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Evan.
So, all right, let's quickly look at these. I gotta go through these a little more. These are all kind of whatever coins. I mean, this one, like, you know, these Cole Morgans, they're hot right now. They're going for about 30 bucks to 35 bucks each online. I paid them 23 on each of these. There's a few dates in here that are gonna be in the $40 region. I gotta go, like I said, I'm gonna go through them again, and it's Friday, and it's like almost 6 o'clock, so I really wanna go home. But these ones are better dates. These are the $50 to $60 range on these ones. And I also got my merch, because I'm gonna start carrying merch online and in my store. So if you guys wanna buy Pawn Man shirts, DM me. I'm gonna try and have them in multiple colors. I only ordered a few in the exotic colors. I'm gonna deal with this later though. All right, so it is the next day. It is Saturday. I was considering not being open today because tomorrow's the 4th of July, but there's no rest for the wicked. / running a business means you gotta work really hard. Frankly, I just sit at home and be bored anyway. I don't like being here. So I was kind of going through some of these coins in my head a little bit last night, like doing some research online, and I might have sold myself short. There might be more than $340 profit here. So we're gonna go through all these Morgans, I'm gonna piece them out, and we're gonna see just how much money I think I can make on this. What I wrestled with in my mind was, do I wanna just blow all of them out for a flat price and just get my money out right away? And that is very appealing. However, there's some attributes and some varieties. I noticed that there's a lot of 1900 O's And O over CC is worth about $100. So I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna look for that, I'm gonna look for other varieties, and I'm gonna kind of piece together how much these Morgans are worth, and we'll kind of go over it when I'm done. Yeah, I definitely sold myself short in that original estimation. Most of these coins, I'm gonna be able to get at least 50 bucks each for them. These two I might keep here for the shop and just put them in silver mystery boxes. This one's been so heavily cleaned, I just don't even wanna put it on eBay. It's got silver content. And then this one has some rim damage. This one, maybe not too. This one has like a really gnarly scratch going down the face. But yeah, for the most part, I've already got these ones listed. I listed these between $50 and $65, and these ones, for the most part, are going to be in that range. So all in all, I'm not gonna sell these overnight. It might take me a month to sell all of them, but there's probably a $700 to $800 profit. Bummer there's no varieties though, because like I said, these 1900 O's with the Carson City variety, the overdate would be at least $100. It was kind of close on a few of them, but I determined it was just dirt. What you do is you look right here where the O is, and you look for two little tiny C's that the O is over. It's super subtle. You got to use a magnifying glass to do it, but alas, I don't have that. So this is silver that I just bought from my smelter. He gets people turning him over silver all the time. Check this out. This 100-ounce bar has had the serial number scratched off. Apparently they've had it for many months, and they've checked and checked, and they can't find an owner, and it hasn't been reported as stolen, probably because the serial number has been scrubbed off. So there's to own outright and sell outright, and I just bought that. So I bought all the silver plus this 4-ounce bar. That's a $100 bill. Yes, by the time you are seeing this, dear viewer, I have already sold this. I guarantee you I'm going to sell this within like 10 minutes of posting it. But lots of silver coming in, and I just sold a bunch of scrap to him as well, so good exchange. That's right, nice, shiny silver. So we're going through the silver now, piece by piece. There is some really collectible stuff in here, and I bought it for better than I would have bought it from somebody on the street because my smelter gives me such a good price. But like, these mini pieces here are so hot. I mean, this is a 1/4 ounce. But I could probably get, I bet, 20 bucks for this thing because it's like a Morgan. This is made after a $2.50 Indian gold piece. I bet I'll be able to get 15 or 20 bucks for this, even though it weighs even less. The metal value on these, I mean, I bet I paid 5 bucks for the pair of these. But check this out. Look at this, I just found this. I looked at this, I saw 1974 with the ship design. I thought, I'm gonna stick this on eBay for 100. And again, I paid $2 over melt on it. So I paid $28 for this thing. Yeah, I just found this. The Watergate bug, like the Watergate break-in with the little tape in the bug. Varies between $50 and $60, $80 for that one. I paid $28. Just like that, I make one Instagram and I have a bunch of interest in these. I sold all these at $36.25 each. Again, I paid $28 for each one, so quick $170 profit. And the rest of this stuff, I think I'm gonna stick on eBay, because these bars are going for between $50 and $100 each, like most of these. It has not been very long at all since I posted about the silver, and it was like dropping a person into a tank full of sea bass with laser beams attached to their heads. It was just a bloodbath. People went nuts over this stuff. So I've already sold most of the silver. This is some stuff that's going out. I did. Somebody asked, well, I have another 200 bucks. What can I get? Because they bought these 10 1-ounce bars, and they bought these at $50 each, because they're, again, just so collectible. And then this is the silver mystery box that I built for them for $200. They get an eagle, they get an eagle copy that's just generic. They get a proof buffalo, this 0.2315 of an ounce piece of silver from Israel, it's a proof. And then these tiny little 1 gram pieces that are $3 each, as well as 2 other bars of silver. And of course, a copy of my novel Wolf in the Jungle, and a Pawn Man button. And Wolf in the Jungle is signed. So when I was opening the shop, I had to liquidate all of my personal silver. And when I worked at the old shop, I would buy, whenever this kind of stuff would come in, this collectible stuff that I knew was super hot, I would buy it for spot, and then I would turn around and buy it from the shop for $2, $3 over what we paid. You know, kind of like however we would sell it to another person, but then I would sit on it. And so I built up this giant collection of all this super collectible silver, where although the price of silver was like $30 an ounce, the cost that I was getting was more than double spot because it was so collectible. So if you can get this kind of stuff for the right price, if you see this at a bullion shop, it's kind of collectible stuff that's vintage, that's stamped from like the 1960s or 70s or earlier, scoop it up, especially if you can get it, like I said, on spot price, because you can flip it on eBay for double spot. It's found money. Just for these right here, I got 30 bucks. I have to pay for shipping, which is gonna cost me 3, but that's only, it's 10 grams, 10 total grams right here. So about 1/3 of an ounce, that would be $90 an ounce. And then I still got these. I just made an Instagram post and like within 5 minutes I sold all these. I bet these will be gone by the time I shut my camera off. All right, I should probably blow all this silver out. Should probably blow something. I got some coins coming in here. All right, some, as I like to call, some boomer shit. Shit that only boomers buy.
Is that what that is?
That's what I call it. Oh, cool. It's like a belt buckle, silver eagle. It's an ounce of silver right there. Got an 1838 large cent, 1862 Indian head. We have a trade dollar. Question is the trade dollar real? These get faked a lot, these coins. What we'll do is we're gonna throw it on here and see if it's 27.1 grams. Not even close, it's fake.
Is it fake dollar?
It's fake. See, it's only 21.8. The other giveaway is this is a Carson City, which is the rarest kind. And like I said, these coins get faked all the time. So yeah, this one's fake. Yeah, I mean, you do have some money here. It's not like you got nothing. But yeah, that Carson City would have been the winner. This is 30 bucks, ounce of silver. Market price in silver right now is $26.50. I'll just pay a little bit more because it's a fancy belt buckle. This is 13 bucks. Yeah, these coins are silver, or they're 90%. Not this one, and not this one, but this one and this one and this one. So this would be 8, this would be $1, this would be 2, and then I just add a little bit more for these. This one here is 20 bucks.
Is it?
Yeah.
What is that?
If it was in better shape, it'd be a lot more, but it's pretty worn down. It's an 1838 large cent. This, I don't think is silver, but let's find out. When we hit run, we just take this little wand. So it's probably 90%. It's 13 bucks. And then you had this, 1862, it's circulated. I'll do $5 on that. So I can pay 122 for this stuff.
That one, I know it's not worth as much, but I know that one's been selling on eBay somewhere between. You can do whatever you need to do.
Oh, so we got some Pokemon cards coming in here, and I don't see Pokemon cards too often. A Tyranitar first edition holograph, and Team Rocket's Hitmonchan, also first edition holograph. So we're gonna do a little digging and see what we can offer on these. Now, to be frank, this is the first time I've ever done this. I am not an expert at creating Pokemon cards. And interestingly, if you are, there's a very lucrative job for you right now because there's such a demand for the grading of these cards and there's a huge shortage right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for imperfections on the card. So, I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's a little thing on the side here.
Yeah, I mean, again,
I'm not an expert. If I had to guess, this would be a PSA 7 maybe?
What does that mean?
7 out of 10.
Okay.
It's a good score. So you said you wanted probably about 4 for it. There is a PSA 9 that is $395. So I'd be somewhere around 200 on this one.
Would you go 225?
Yes. Okay, I see a 9 here at 224. What would you think about 125 on this one?
125 and call it even?
It's good to me. Yeah. Okay, so here's 350.
I appreciate it.
All right, for the informative part of this episode, since I bought some Pokemon cards in this episode, let's talk all about the history of Pokemon and POKÉMANIA. Pokemon is the largest franchise, the most successful, highest grossing franchise in history of anything. To be honest, I didn't know that when I started researching this episode. I was extremely surprised to know that. Bigger than Star Wars, bigger than Mickey Mouse, bigger than Hello Kitty. Not bigger than Disney as a whole, but bigger than the Mickey Mouse property, which just is insane to think about, because it's not even like, the other stuff I mentioned is older, like quite a bit older than Pokemon. This came about in the 90s. Pokemon was created by Satoshi Tajiri in 1996. Satoshi Tajiri grew up in the suburban areas of Tokyo back before Tokyo was a massive sprawling metropolis, back when, well, there were forests and nature and things that you could go do to play in the woods as a kid. So as a kid, he was obsessed with bugs. In fact, he used to want to be an entomologist, and interestingly, so did I. until I found out what they make. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to do that because they don't make very much money. Tajiri would play in the forest as a kid. He was obsessed with bugs, so much so that his friends called him the bug professor, and his grade school teacher would allow him to present his findings to the class because it was so interesting, and he was just like, so like professional about it. He had an understanding that was well beyond his years with insects. This grew into a love of other small animals, frogs, lizards, stuff like that, as he grew older. But alas, as he grew older, Tokyo got bigger, and the forests around his house kind of dried up. They became part of the metropolis. As a substitution for the forests, he found a new kind of forest. The electronic forest of the arcade. He would spend his teenage years spending so much time in the arcade, he earned the nickname the Storm of the Arcade, because he could play and keep playing on very little pocket change. He was extremely good at video games. His friends idolized him and his just natural born talent with playing video games. Not only was he very good at video games, he was fascinated by how they were made. He was interested in potentially one day making his own games and learning the process of making a game. So in 1982, he began self-producing his own strategy guides. He called it Game Freak. He would hand make them and he would sell them at local shops. They started to take off. He was selling them for 200 yen, about $2.35 today. And he would make one copy, he'd photocopy it, he'd sell it around stores, but it got so popular that he had to figure out better means of production. Meanwhile, he starts entering these video game contests for designing and also playing, and he's winning like everything that he enters. He wins one contest for Sega that gives him a decent amount of prize money. However, his parents do not like what he's doing. He almost doesn't graduate high school because of this, because he's devoting so much time to producing Game Freak and learning about video games and dissecting them and learning how to potentially one day make them. This clearly is the career path that he wants, but his father and his mother don't like this. His dad tries to get him a job at the Tokyo Electric Power Company, and alas, he didn't like it. Doesn't happen. His only love, his only want, the only thing that he wants to do is pursue this new burgeoning industry known as video games. And again, it is becoming bigger and bigger. Nintendo is becoming a real powerhouse. So in 1983, Nintendo releases the Famicom, the family computer, and Tajiri wants to design games for it, but you can't just design a game for Nintendo, you need a contract. So what he starts doing is he starts pitching stories and ideas and game concepts to companies that have contracts with Nintendo in hopes that they'll want to pick up one of his game ideas. Around this time, he also teams up with artist Ken Sugimori, who would become a famous animator on Pokemon. They'd worked together for years and years. Sugimori was just in a game shop one day and saw a copy of Game Freak and picked it up, and he liked what was going on, but he saw that Tajiri needed help with artwork because Tajiri was not a great artist. So the two of them teamed up and forged what would become a lifelong friendship and partnership. Eventually, Tajiri succeeds in landing a contract with Namco, who has the rights to make games for Nintendo. Tajiri notices that a lot of the most successful games have a very simplistic premise that have to do with verbs. Example, Pac-Man is about eating. So he makes a game called Quinty, which is about flipping. There's a board and there's like characters walking on it, and you gotta like flip the board and the characters get flipped over. I've never played it, I just saw some videos on YouTube about it. This game gets picked up, it goes on to sell 200,000 copies, and in the West it gets re-released under the title Mendel Palace. So now Tajiri is an international name, albeit with small video game sales. So he keeps working in the industry, he keeps building himself up. In 1989, he officially founds Game Freak as his video game production company, but 2 years before, he was playing Dragon Quest, and he noticed something in the game Dragon Quest. Rare items. It was a new facet he hadn't really seen in games before, and he thought it was such an interesting idea that in the game there are these rare sought-after items. He wants to incorporate that into one of his games maybe one day. And then in 1989, when Nintendo releases the Game Boy, they also release a feature with the Game Boy that he'd never seen before, and that feature was the extension cable to allow one Game Boy to link up with another so that players can battle each other. But Tajiri sees a new, novel way to use this cable, trading. He thinks, well, what about Dragon Quest? You have these rare items. What if you had a game that had rare items and players could trade their rare items back and forth? And they could also battle each other. So this is where the first kind of idea of capsule monsters, he would call it, comes into form, and he speaks with his company Game Freak, and they start developing the basic idea of what would eventually become Pokemon. But it's immensely complicated, it's immensely expensive for them to make and produce. It takes 6 years, 6 long years where Tajiri nearly bankrupts his own company. He's living with his parents. He can barely pay his employees. He barely pays himself. It's a tough 6 years. And he takes these bullshit contracts that he has no passion about. He doesn't want to do them. He just needs a means to keep paying the bills and keep his employees paid. He's got to let some people go. So he makes these lackluster games in the early 90s that he has no passion in. And meanwhile, on the side, he's developing this Capsule Monsters concept, and it's getting more and more complicated. Eventually, it morphs into an entire world that is based on his childhood. Now, unfortunately, what he runs into once he's finally starting to get ready to have a finished product is Capsule Monsters. The name Capsule Monsters is really tough to trademark. Too tough. So Capsule Monsters becomes Pocket Monsters, becomes Pokemon. Meanwhile, because of this Game Boy cable, he's created this whole concept about characters being able to battle their monsters and trade their monsters, and this leads him to the discovery and the idea that would make Pokemon a success. And that idea was, well, what if you release multiple versions of the same game? What if on one version you had these monsters and these items, on a different version you had a different set of monsters with different items, some were overlapping, some were not, and that would force people to be more interacting and engaging with the game, engage with each other, so that they could battle each other and trade each other for items. And Nintendo likes the idea. They pick up the concept, they run with it, they produce it. Pokemon comes out in 1996. Nintendo has extremely low expectations, mainly because they've just released the Nintendo 64. They don't think anybody's gonna buy a Game Boy game. That's yesterday's news. What people are gonna buy are Nintendo 64 games. But what Nintendo does not count on is the fact that people are going to love this idea of one version and another, so much so that they're gonna buy both versions. And on top of that, they're not gonna buy a Nintendo 64, that's expensive. They're gonna use the hardware they already have. They're gonna put the money into a new, novel, fun game, not spend 10 times as much on a new system where the games cost 3 times as much. So Pokemon becomes this sleeper hit that nobody expects. You have Pokemon Red and you have Pokemon Green in Japan. By the end of 1997, Pokemon Red and Green have sold over 4.5 million copies just in Japan. In 1998, it comes to the US as Pokemon Red and Blue, and at this point we have POKÉMANIA. It just completely takes off. On top of that, Tajiri starts looking for new ways to keep the game going, keep the franchise going. He comes up with the anime series, the trading card game, the merchandise, and a happy accident happens, one that really solidifies Pokemon's success, and it's really just some guerrilla marketing here. There's a game programmer named Shigeki Morimoto, and he creates Mew. He programs it into the game in secrecy. It's only supposed to be for Game Freak employees. It's only supposed to be on special games just for them. But word somehow gets out that there might be 151st secret Pokemon, and Tajiri just runs with this idea. He creates a contest to give out 151 of them to lucky select winners, and just the guerrilla marketing is brilliant. So as we know here in the US, Pokemon takes off. They follow up with Pokemon Yellow, a new version in 1999. And we're talking tens of millions of copies selling of this game now. Big bucks, way bigger than Nintendo ever expected. Eventually you get Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and you get Leaf Green and Fire Red, and the versions just continue. The game continues, the anime continues, the trading cards experience an incredible boom in the 90s. And like I said at the start of this, it becomes the highest grossing franchise in history. On accident. So that's the how, that's the history. Let's talk a little bit about why. Why in 2021, 20-something years after Pokemon originally comes out, do you have this massive boom with the trading cards? People just losing their frickin' mind over them. I'm sure y'all saw Target quit selling them recently because adults drew guns on each other in a parking lot in Wisconsin. And when I was a kid in the 90s, I remember they banned Pokemon cards at my school because kids were getting into fucking fistfights over them. Well, really, I would trace this boom to the pandemic. And the pandemic creating a couple of different subfacets that really nobody expected. Number one, you have people that are bored at home, thinking the world is coming to an end, thinking, well, if I'm gonna die, I may as well gratify my childhood. I may as well get those things that I always wanted. So people start collecting these Pokemon cards en masse. Number two, you now in 2021, the day that I'm recording this, you have more wealthy people right now than have ever existed in human history, and that number is only getting bigger. This growing class of wealthy people means you have a larger market of wealthy people spending money on things, willing to spend ridiculous amounts of money on stuff. So you have basically wealthy people fighting over trying to collect their childhood love. You also have millennials in the mix. Millennials do not trust modern forms of money. They don't like stocks. They don't like real estate. They don't like gold and silver until I came along. They want to look into new ways of holding wealth, things that have collector value, like Pokemon cards or things that have new novel value that nobody's really sure of, like cryptocurrency. Young people see collector items like this. They see Pokemon as being around for the long haul, and frankly, I do too, simply because, like I said, it's the biggest fucking franchise in history. It's not going anywhere. This bubble that we're experiencing right now, no doubt is a bubble. It will pop, but it will not disintegrate the Pokemon market forever. I knew goddamn well when I was a kid that Pokemon was gonna come back. I remember one day my dad in 2002 went to Shinder's, talk about Shinder's in a minute, and bought every single first edition Pokemon card they had because they had slashed the prices on everything. They were like $2. Comes home with a stack like this and he's like, you know, son, I think you're right about these Pokemon cards. I think they're gonna come back one day. And sure enough, I've sent my entire collection off to auction. I'm gonna get tens of thousands of dollars for it. And I have, oh God, at most 5,000 into it. Like many times what I paid and what my dad paid. Really quickly, Shinder's is a local store that's been defunct for about 20 years now. It was the hub where you would go get Pokemon cards. I have so many great memories of being there as a kid. There's a local sports card expert that I work with. Like, I know him and I send him cards when I get them in. And he has all the original Shinder's signs in his basement. He went to auction and bought them all. Shinder's got shut down by the feds because it was a cocaine money laundering operation. It was a tobacco and sports trading card and like other kind of trading card store that sold like vintage magazines and stuff like that. And it was all a front for laundering money. If you're from the Twin Cities here, you know all about the Shinder's history and how like literally overnight the whole fucking company went belly up because the feds cracked it open like a nut. Anyway, the last thing that you have driving up the price of Pokemon and why this fad has taken off the way that it has is thanks to one individual, Logan Paul. I am not kidding. He single-handedly has done so much to rock the Pokemon card trading market. I mean, he spent in October of 2020, I think he spent like $1 million or $2 million acquiring all the first edition or as many first edition booster packs as he could. So he single-handedly shortened the world's supply and he put a big fucking spotlight on Pokemon in the process. He showed up to his fight against Floyd Mayweather with $1 million Pokemon card. And by doing that, by getting all those eyes on it, every time he does something like that, he monkeys with the market and he makes the demand go up. He is single-handedly pushing these markets. Now, he's not gonna be able to hold it up forever, but just with what he's been doing, he's definitely been a helping hand. And as much as I don't like him, boy, the fact that I'm sending my cards off to auction and I have him to thank for maybe getting tens of thousands more, well, awesome. So in conclusion, Pokemon has become a pop culture powerhouse that is never going away. And although this bubble for Pokemon cards may pop, long-term, you know what I would do? I would wait for this bubble to pop and then I would start investing in cards from the 90s. Like the first run of them, not the modern ones, because they make so many of them now, forget it, it's definitely a bubble. But with the older ones, the ones from the late 90s, first edition, those are the ones you're gonna wanna get your hands on. And when this bubble pops, I would move on it because Pokemon, mark my words, is never going away. And this demand for these cards will continue. And to conclude, I'm gonna share one really quick funny story. So this was in 1999, my dad's childhood friend had a party. It was Jewish high holy days, and after synagogue, we all went to this guy's house. So all the kids are in the basement with their Pokemon cards, and I brought my Pokemon cards, and like all the adults, you know, are upstairs, and I go down. And the host's son, my dad's friend's son, this kid was such a fucking asshole. He had a Japanese holographic Team Rocket Charizard. I had never seen one. I really wanted it. And I had some card that I think was like a Scyther or something. It was not terribly expensive, but it was one of the ones that had like one of the more unique art designs on it. So like, you know, he hadn't seen it. And this was before the internet largely. Like you couldn't just check your phone and see what something's worth. So I spend, oh God, at least 2 hours trying to convince this kid to trade with me and my Scyther for his Charizard. And I'm convincing him it's so rare and he'll never see one again. And like, you know, I know goddamn well I'm ripping him off, but I bark up this tree for hours. And finally he agrees to a trade. Well, no sooner than he trades me and I'm smiling, I'm looking at this card, this other kid shows up. And this other kid goes, oh, whoa, you did that trade for that Scyther? Oh, no, Evan ripped you off. And this kid wants a trade back. And I said, no trade backs. And this kid hit the fucking roof, screaming at me. And I go upstairs and like, let me put it this way. As a child, I was a master manipulator. As an adult, no comment. But as a child, I knew how to perfectly stage stuff. So I see this kid flipping out and it's like, oh God, I'm gonna get busted for this. I'm gonna have to trade back. The only way that I can save this is if I make it look like he's being ridiculous and I'm the victim in all this. So I bait this kid to come upstairs shouting at me and I position it so he's like in front of his dad flipping out on me. And I'm acting just incredulous about it. And this kid, I'm able to fucking pull his strings as such where he just completely loses his shit. and he can't properly articulate what happened. And sure enough, he looks like the bad guy and all this, and I look like the victim. So this kid is throwing a fucking temper tantrum. And you know, it's like, I'm like to my dad, I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here. And so my dad's like, well, all right, I think we've overstayed our welcome. It's time to leave. And I'm leaving with the card. And this kid is so fucking hysterical. He's screaming, and his dad's putting him in his room at this point. And I'm in the doorway with my dad, and my dad's standing in front of me. And like, the kid is the only one looking at me. Everyone's looking up at the kid. And I go to the kid as I'm leaving. And then, so yeah, I left with the card. And then years later, maybe about 12 years later, I was out for my dad's friend's, it was his birthday, and he brought his son, and this is when we were like 18. And he says, do you still have that card? And I go, what card? I still got the card. Auction estimate 500 to 1,000. Kid's still an asshole too, so fuck him. Anyway, so that's my segment on Pokemon. Well, just like that, it is the end of the day and the end of the episode. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that notification button so you know when new episodes of Pawn Man are out. Become a Pawn Man Patreon. Every dollar that I get goes toward improving this show, and I could really use some help. I could also use some more views, so please share my content on social media. If you have questions, put them in the comments section. Get my books, get my merch, and I will see you guys back here for another episode of Pawn Man. Later, guys.